Tonight we will hear the story of Nikola Tesla. Lie back, relax, and let yourself drift into the life of a man born in a thunderstorm, a boy who carried lightning in his mind. He dreamed of giving the world free energy. He battled Edison in the Great War of Currents. He lit entire cities, built machines a century ahead of their time, and yet died alone, forgotten in a New York hotel room. But his name endures, stronger than ever, carried by one of the world's largest companies. This is the story of Nikola Tesla, the forgotten genius who invented the future. Smiljan, Croatia, 1856. A thunderstorm raged across the sky the night Nikola Tesla was born. Lightning split the heavens in jagged flashes. Thunder shook the small wooden house where his mother labored. The midwife whispered that no child born in such a storm could live long, but his mother only shook her head and said softly, "No, he will be a child of light." From the very beginning, Nikola was different. His body was frail, often ill, yet his eyes glowed with a strange intensity. He spoke of visions, sparks, wheels of fire, patterns of light that seemed to dance in the air before him. His father, stern and disciplined, was a priest who wanted his son to follow the same path. His mother, though uneducated, had a gift for invention, creating clever tools for weaving and household work. From her, Nikola inherited both imagination and restless hands. He did not fit easily into the life of his village. Other boys teased him for being thin, quiet, and strange, but inside his mind, storms raged endlessly. By the river, he imagined harnessing the current to power machines. When lightning forked across the night sky, he swore it spoke a secret language only he could understand. One night, while his father prayed by candlelight, Nikola crouched at the fireplace and traced shapes in the soot, wheels that spun without end, sparks leaping invisibly from one point to another. His father frowned and dismissed it as foolishness. But his mother placed her hand gently on his shoulder and whispered, "Keep your visions." One day they may light the world. As Nikola grew older, his hunger for knowledge became impossible to ignore. Books were his constant companions, mathematics, physics, the works of great inventors. He devoured them with an intensity that startled his teachers. He could memorize entire volumes after a single reading, and when he closed his eyes, he claimed he could see machines working in perfect detail inside his mind, every gear turning, every spark leaping across an invisible gap. But his brilliance was shadowed by fragility. Illness followed him like a ghost. At 17, he nearly died of cholera, bedridden for months in his parents' home. His father, desperate, promised that if Nikola survived, he would not be forced into the priesthood, but allowed to study engineering, the only future the boy ever wanted. Nikola recovered, thin and weak, but burning with purpose. He entered the Polytechnic School in Graz, Austria, where he astonished professors with his ability to solve problems in his head without touching pen or paper. While others scribbled calculations, Tesla closed his eyes, ran the equations silently, and then announced the answer with complete confidence. Some called it genius. Others whispered it was madness. Yet volatility marked his path. He became obsessed with the idea of a motor powered not by direct current, like Edison's systems, but by a mysterious new force, alternating current. He sketched designs feverishly, spoke of a world lit by invisible waves of energy. But his teachers dismissed the idea as impossible, even dangerous. Their skepticism cut him deeply, and his restless mind grew darker. He gambled, quarreled, and fell into debt. By the end of his studies, the brilliant student who once dazzled his professors was gone, forced to leave without a degree. Still, Tesla carried something more powerful than any diploma, the vision of a machine that could change the world. He had seen it in his mind's eye, clear as lightning in the night. And though he was still young, fragile, and nearly ruined, he he swore he would make that vision real. Tesla's journey carried him far from his small homeland. He worked in Budapest, then in Paris, designing electrical systems for the Continental Edison Company. His colleagues marveled at his precision, the way he could imagine an entire machine, perfect it in his mind, and then build it exactly as he had seen it. Yet Tesla was restless. He wanted more than steady wages and safe designs. He wanted to bring his visions of alternating current to life. In 1884, at the age of 28, he boarded a ship to America. He arrived in New York with little more than a letter of introduction, 4 cents in his pocket, and a head full of inventions. The city stunned him. Towers of steel, streets alive with horse-drawn carriages and electric lamps. Somewhere in this chaos stood the man Tesla most needed to meet, Thomas Edison. Edison was already famous, celebrated as the wizard of Menlo Park, the man who had tamed electricity with the incandescent bulb. When Tesla was brought to him, he explained his ideas for improving Edison's direct current systems. Edison listened, skeptical but intrigued. Here was a gaunt foreigner with piercing eyes, claiming he could rebuild the entire electrical grid. Tesla went to work for Edison, laboring day and night. He redesigned dynamos, solved problems that had stumped entire teams. Some said Edison even promised him a fortune, $50,000 if he succeeded. Tesla delivered. But when he asked for his reward, Edison laughed. "You don't understand our American humor," he said. The betrayal cut deep. Tesla, proud and uncompromising, resigned on the spot. Soon after, he found himself digging ditches to survive, his visions of alternating current seeming farther away than ever. For months he lived in obscurity, haunted by the thought that his genius might wither in the shadows of another man's empire. But Tesla's story was not meant to end in the dirt. A group of investors, impressed by his strange but brilliant ideas, approached him. They gave him a chance to build his alternating current motor. When Tesla switched it on, the machine whirred to life, smooth and powerful, a silent rebuke to Edison's direct current empire. The stage was set for a war that would decide the future of electricity. New York, the 1880s. Electricity was no longer a curiosity. It was the future. But the question burning across the nation was, which kind of electricity would power it? Edison, already a legend, championed direct current, DC. It was steady, reliable, but weak. Current could not travel far without losing its strength, which meant power plants had to be built on every street corner. Expensive, inefficient. But Edison had already invested everything in it, and he would not let it go. Tesla believed in something different. Alternating current, AC, a system that pulsed back and forth, able to travel miles along wires without losing power. With AC, entire cities could be lit from a single power station. Tesla knew it was superior, but few listened. He was a foreigner, eccentric, unpolished. Then came George Westinghouse, an industrialist with vision. He bought Tesla's patents, and together they built a network of AC power. For the first time, Edison faced a true rival, and Edison did not fight clean. He launched a campaign to smear Tesla's invention, claiming AC was deadly. Demonstrations were staged in public, where animals were electrocuted with alternating current. A grotesque show meant to terrify. Edison's allies pushed for the electric chair to be powered by AC, branding Tesla's dream as the current of death. Newspapers picked it up, and the public grew fearful, but Tesla pressed on. He lectured, demonstrated, and proved that AC could be not only safe, but transformative. When Westinghouse won the contract to light the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, it was Tesla's system that illuminated the night. Over 100,000 lamps glowed at once, powered by AC. The crowd gasped as the white city shone like daylight. Edison's direct current empire had been humiliated. And yet, victory came at a cost. Tesla, who cared little for business, had signed away many of his rights to Westinghouse to keep the company alive. The fortune that could have been his slipped away. The genius who had given the world its modern power grid would never be as rich as Edison, nor as ruthless. But on that night in Chicago, as the fairgrounds blazed brighter than any city had ever seen, Nikola Tesla stood in the glow and knew his vision had won. With the war of currents behind him, Tesla became more than an inventor. He became a prophet of the future. But prophets rarely live in peace. He dreamed bigger than anyone around him. Electricity, he believed, was not just for light and power. It could be transmitted without wires, carried invisibly through the air. In his imagination, entire cities would glow without a single lamp being plugged in. Ships would cross oceans guided by remote control. The world itself would be wrapped in invisible waves, carrying energy and information to every corner of the globe. Some dreams Tesla turned into reality. He demonstrated wireless signals before anyone else, showing a small boat controlled by radio waves. Crowds stared in disbelief. It looked like magic. Today, it is simply called radio. But other visions remained only sketches in his notebooks. He spoke of a world system, a global wireless network that could share news, music, even pictures instantly across continents. Most people laughed. Such things belonged to fantasy. And yet, a century later, the world would recognize in his visions the shape of the internet. Tesla built laboratories in New York and Colorado, where great coils hummed and cracked with blue sparks. He called lightning from the air, bolts leaping from his machines that made the ground tremble. Neighbors whispered he was summoning storms. Investors whispered something worse, that he was wasting their money. His most ambitious project was the Wardenclyffe Tower on Long Island, a massive transmitter meant to beam wireless power across the Atlantic. He believed it could change the world, end poverty, and give energy to all. But funding dried up. J.P. Morgan, who had once supported him, turned away when he realized there would be no profit in free electricity. The tower was abandoned, left to rust. Tesla stood beneath its shadow, knowing the world was not ready. He had glimpsed a future no one else could see, but the present had no room for it. As the years passed, his fame began to fade. The world he had electrified moved on, and younger men claimed the spotlight. Marconi was celebrated as the father of radio, though Tesla's patents had laid the foundation. Others built fortunes from technologies Tesla had once imagined, while he struggled to pay his laboratory bills. Investors grew tired of his endless promises. Wardenclyffe Tower, his grand dream of wireless power, was dismantled and sold for scrap. The newspapers that once hailed him as a wizard now mocked him as a crank. He spoke of death rays, earthquake machines, and signals from other planets, ideas that frightened as much as they inspired. To the public, Tesla became a curiosity, a strange figure drifting further from reality. His eccentricities grew sharper. He dined alone at the same hotel each evening, demanding a precise number of linen napkins. He avoided pearls, which he claimed filled him with disgust. He spoke of visions, of numbers and patterns that guided his every step. Some said he was mad. Others whispered that he saw too much. But what hurt him most was not ridicule, it was obscurity. While Edison died a national hero and Westinghouse built an empire, Tesla grew poor. In his final years, he lived in a series of small New York hotel rooms, feeding pigeons in the park and speaking of inventions he would never complete. His notebooks filled with sketches of impossible machines, devices that might have changed history, but remained only ink on paper. In January 1943, Nikola Tesla died alone in his room at the New Yorker hotel. He was 86. There was no fortune to leave behind, no family gathered at his side, just a life's work scattered across drawings, machines, and half-forgotten patents. The forgotten genius, the man of lightning, had ended his days in silence, and yet his ideas refused to die. In the years after his death, scientists combed through his papers, astonished at how much he had foreseen. Radio, radar, remote control, even concepts that looked like blueprints for modern wireless networks, all had been drawn by his hand decades too early. Slowly, the world began to remember him. What had once been called madness was rebranded as genius. Biographies were written, statues were raised, and documentaries told of the strange man who had dreamed the future before anyone else could see it. Tesla became a legend, half scientist, half myth. Some painted him as a tragic hero destroyed by greed and betrayal. Others imagined him as a magician, a man who had tapped into secrets too powerful for his own time. Conspiracy theories spread, claims that he had invented weapons that could split the earth, machines that governments hid away. But perhaps the greatest sign of his rebirth came not from history books, but from the modern world itself. In the 21st century, an ambitious company building electric cars chose his name, Tesla. With every vehicle on the road, his legacy rides again. Sleek machines powered by the very force he dedicated his life to. A man who once died, forgotten, now lives, as a brand recognized across the globe. Tesla never became the wealthy titan he might have been. He never saw his dreams of wireless power spread across the earth. But his name has outlived Edison, Westinghouse, and all the rivals who once overshadowed him. Today, when people speak of the future, of energy, of innovation, of what humanity could become, it is his name they invoke. In the quiet of history, Nikola Tesla's life looks like a storm in reverse. He began in thunder, born beneath lightning, filled with visions of power. He lived in flashes of brilliance, dazzling the world with inventions that seemed like magic. And he ended in silence, a lonely man feeding pigeons outside a New York hotel. Yet storms do not vanish. They leave marks. Every lamp that glows, every radio that sings, every current that hums through the veins of modern life carries a trace of Tesla. His dreams, once dismissed as impossible, became the foundation of the age of electricity. His failures became myths. His notebooks became prophecies. Perhaps he was too far ahead. Perhaps the world could not follow where he tried to lead, but time has a way of catching up. Today, his name rides on satellites and circuits, whispered in classrooms, stamped onto one of the most valuable companies on Earth. Tesla never wanted wealth. He wanted a world lit freely, endlessly, for all. That dream remains unfinished, but in the glow of our cities, in the hum of our machines, his storm still echoes. Nikola Tesla, the forgotten genius, the man of lightning, reminds us that genius is not measured by what a man earns, but by what he dares to imagine. And so the record of Nikola Tesla returns to the shelves, the forgotten genius who invented the future, a man who saw what others could not, and left behind dreams that still shape our world today. A faint echo, as though the archivist speaks into endless stone corridors. Here in the archive, his story will rest, not lost, not broken, only waiting for the next dreamer to open it once more.